when the teacher looked at the sentences, she liked one more than the other. Here is who she liked. James, while John had a better effect on the teacher. Can you solve the sentence to figure out whose sentence the teacher liked better? Hello everyone, I hope you've been having a wonderful week. My name is Catalin. Welcome back to my English learning channel. In today's video, we are going to look at one mistake that English learners make all the time. And to be honest, it's not only English learners that make this mistake. Sometimes these three words trip up native speakers as well. These little words are have, has, and had. These cause so many mistakes, and don't even get me started on have had, has had, and had had. In today's lesson, we are going to learn how to use all of these properly every time. First, let's talk about what have, has, and had have in common. Has and had are both different forms of the verb have. So what makes them different? Well, the difference between have, has, and had are that have and has are used in the present simple tense, whereas had is used in the past simple tense. The present simple tense is used to talk about repeated actions, or things that never change. So if both have and has are used in the present simple tense, how do we know which one to choose for our sentence? Well, in this case, we need to look at the subject of our sentence. If the subject uses the pronoun I, you, we, or they, then we should use the word have. But if it uses he, she, or it, then we should use has. For example, I have brown hair. That is something that will never change. Or we have a cup of tea every morning. That is a repeated action. Some more examples. She has blue shoes. And the puppy has a collar. So that is the difference between have and has. But what about had? Remember I said before, we use had for the past simple tense. We use the past simple tense to talk about actions that have been completed in the past. Now, lucky for us, we can use had with all pronouns. We don't need to change. We can say, I had, you had, we had, they had, he had, she had, it had. For example, I had pizza for dinner. He had a bad headache. Or they had a huge party. Now that we have sorted out have, has, and had, let's take a look at the bit more confusing have had, has had, and had had. The difference between these three is that have had and has had are used in the present perfect tense, while had is used in the past perfect tense. The present perfect tense is used to talk about actions that have happened in the recent past and are connected to the present, or they continue to happen in the present. To tell whether you should use have had or has had is just like choosing between have and has. For the pronouns I, you, we, and they, you should use have had. But for he, she, and it, you should use has had. For example, I have had a headache all day. This is an action that has happened in the recent past and continues to happen. So we have used present perfect tense. The subject of this sentence is also I, so we have used have had and not has had. Another example is, They have had a big lunch, so they will have a small dinner. This is an action that happened in the recent past and connects to the present. One more example. She has had too much to drink tonight, so you need to drive her home. For this sentence, our subject is she. So for she, we need to use has had. Now let's talk about had had. This one is a little more tricky. Had had is used in the past perfect tense. The past perfect tense is used to talk about a past action that came before another past action. An example of a sentence in past perfect tense is, I had eaten all of the cookies before he came home. Me eating all the cookies is the past action that happened before the next past action, him coming home. In past perfect tense sentences, we will always use the word had with a main verb. In this sentence, the main verb is eat. And because we are talking in past perfect tense, this verb will be in past perfect tense form. So eat became eaten. Now here's the important part. Sometimes when we're talking in past perfect tense, the main verb that we use will be have. When we turn this into past perfect tense form, we get had. So when we have a sentence that the main verb is have and turned into had, we add this to the had that we always have in all past perfect tense sentences, and we get had had. To put that simply, when we have a past perfect tense sentence where the main verb is have, then we use had had. And lucky for us, just like the word had, we can use had had with all pronouns. Let's see some example sentences. I had had such a busy week, so I did nothing at all on the weekend. We had had some trouble with our car, so I took it to the mechanic yesterday. And last one, she had had so much fun, she just couldn't stop smiling. A quick tip for you, when speaking in the present perfect and past perfect, using have had, has had, and had, we almost always use the shortened form. We often contract the pronoun and first have, has, or had. For example, instead of saying, I have had the best day ever, we would say, I've had the best day ever, contracting the pronoun I and have to make I've. Okay, so now you know all about have, has, and had, and also have had, has had, I have a little puzzle for you. Let me know if you can work it out in the comments down below. So, there were two students, John and James, and their English teacher asked them to write a sentence about a man who had gotten sick yesterday, but now he was feeling much better. John wrote, the man had a cold, and James wrote, the man had had a cold. When the teacher looked at the sentences, she liked one more than the other. Here is who she liked. James, while John had a better effect on the teacher. Can you solve the sentence to figure out whose sentence the teacher liked better? But that is all that I have for you guys in today's lesson. I hope you found it useful and now find it much easier to use have, has, and had. If you would like some practice, you're more than welcome to write a sentence in the comments and I will check over them and give you some feedback. Please, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a like and also subscribe to my channel before you go. And you can always check me out on social media as well. I'll see you guys in the next lesson. Bye!